this is our 6th episode of our podcast for new listeners here. And Winnie and I have been interviewing some great founders over the past few months in consumer crypto. And this time we decided to try something a bit new. 1, we're live. And 2, we have some investor friends, and we're just going to riff on some of the exciting things that have been happening in consumer crypto. But before we dive in, a quick disclaimer. The views shared are our own. All views are for informational purposes only and do not constitute and should not be construed or relied upon as legal, business, investment, or tax advice. Although our guest this week is an investment partner of a registered investment advisor, nothing in this podcast should be construed as an offer of Multicoins investment advisory services or should otherwise be confused for investment, tax, legal, or financial advice. Okay, so now let's kick things off. I'd love to just hear how everyone's been spending their time, either researching for work or like what you guys have been doing on chain in your free time.
Yeah, no, I feel like all of us have been having so much fun. Definitely Farcaster is one that we're all spending a lot of time on. Personally, I've been kind of trying to create these like no-code, easy frames and been following along a lot of people in the Farcaster ecosystem that are doing that. I think over the weekend, I saw Ted bring Instagram stories to frames, which I think is super cool. So I've been super excited about that. Other things I'm excited about and looking into is like a lot of prediction market stuff. I've been telling a lot of people that this year I really want to make a bet in like the prediction markets for the girlies kind of space, thinking about how to bring poly markets into like a mobile UX and have it for like mainstream, like non-crypto type topics. I think that'd be super interesting. But yeah, overall, lots of cool things happening.
It's been fun following things happening on this platform with Love on Leverage. I thought the way Brian and Grace found the Vibes token as a medium to channel attention and activity around that specific set of streams was really interesting. And what I think is more compelling about that approach is that the Vibes token persists and people will continue to do things with it over the course of the next months, years, long after all of us are gone. And so, that state of persistence instead of a sort of a closed-ended market seems was interesting. I've been interested in messengers as platforms as well, and monitoring a lot of Telegram trading bots and Telegram as sort of a platform for distribution for crypto primitives as well. I learned over the last couple of weeks that the Ton ecosystem is surprisingly larger, much larger than you would expect, and so kind of diving in there as well. But I'm sure we'll cover a bunch of other things today as well. So yeah.
Did you say Tron?
No, Ton.
Ton. Okay.
Big difference.
Yeah, I was like, what?
I guess speaking of Tron, Tron is also surprisingly way bigger than I had given it credit for. And it turns out that is, potentially the OG use case of crypto and has the highest consumer adoption, payments.
Yeah.
And Tron is the chain. So, yeah.
I also learned Tron was big in Africa. Continue. Mark.
On my end, I think at a high level, something I definitely noticed, the vibes in crypto are back for probably a variety of reasons, but the consumer crypto vibes seem to be pretty good right now. First time in a while, so it's been pretty exciting. I think some things that are cool, like Winnie touched on it, Farcaster is certainly having a moment. I've been having some fun out of kind of creating and consuming content on that side. I've been intrigued with the ERC-404 world. I cannot figure that out, but I've been having a fun time sort of reading and researching on that a little bit. And then I've certainly noticed what feels like a proliferation of Memecoins and stuff as well. Kind of getting back to the point of the vibes being back. And then otherwise on, non-consumer areas, for whatever reason, it feels like the deep in space is carrying some momentum or having a moment right now. So I've been spending a bunch of time researching that. But yeah, certainly no shortage of things.
Yeah, I think the deepen space is particularly interesting. Just like in terms of escape velocity of just every single project being able to reach many more consumers. Like I think for Helium Mobile, they have like 50K subscribers now, and offering that only at $20 a month. So it's been interesting to see like how I think like we've watched a lot of these projects over the years, but now they're starting to actually get momentum with end consumers. Cool. So I would like to turn it over to some of the trends that you guys were talking about. Let's start talking about Farcaster. Like I know when you mentioned frames, there's channels, there's prediction markets on Farcaster. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about what you've been seeing there?
Yeah, in terms of, I guess, prediction markets on Farcaster, Pearl is definitely super exciting. I've been kind of playing their daily games. I don't know if you guys have been following along. They started off as like a bookmarking app on Farcaster. They were one of the first few. And then they've kind of, I think, iterated a few times on their concept. But Pearl's super exciting. I think I believe they were going to build a separate standalone app, and then suddenly, when Frames launched, they kind of utilized Frames as a new go-to-market and distribution engine. And in just like a week or so, they have reached like 32K daily players, which is super exciting for like a new game, right? That would just kind of not be possible if it weren't for Frames. So I think it's pretty cool. The idea is like every day you kind of make a prediction. It starts with like social media predictions, like who will get more likes, more casts, whether this person XYZ will get 100 likes, 100 recasts, or whether person A or person B would get more likes on Farcaster. And then if you win, the next day you get a certain amount of Pearl and DGen tokens will be rewarded to a one lucky winner. So it's super cool. I think what would be more cool is like if Pearl allowed you to kind of create your own contest in games in a no code manner. I would be excited to see that. And so they're currently like only live for like 2-3 weeks, but I think they're launching a few other experiments there, which is cool.
How are the predictions created?
The predictions, I mean, it's just like the game itself, like the founders. Every day they have like a new one contest, and it's like yesterday they had like Brian Armstrong. Like, would Brian Armstrong come on Warpcast and create more than one cast? Other days they have like, will person A or person B cast more, and then they take all that data from the previous day, and then they basically are able to reward the people who bet the right thing.
Yeah, Bookies is another one where they've been doing sports betting. I don't know if you saw that one on.
No, I haven't. Tell me more. What is that? It's on Farcaster?
Yeah, it's very similar, I would say, to what Pearl is doing, just more
Yeah.
focused on like sports games.
What are the sports games that they have? Is it just on Farcaster, or do they have like a separate app and then they kind of just use Farcaster as like a distribution?
I'm not sure. I haven't spent as much time there. It looks like the most recent one is so like an NBA All-Star game, like who will win, and then you can bet either West or East.
Cool.
Maybe we can shift to like another topic. I know Mark, you brought up ERC-404. Do you want to talk more about what you're seeing there or any of these sort of new on-chain standards that are emerging?
Yeah, I've been looking into it a little bit. Like I still don't totally understand it, and my I guess it was like created by accident, or like someone created it through like ChatGPT or something like that. There's some crazy backstory. I don't know. I've been trying to like read a little bit about it, but keep getting conflicting advice. So I don't know if anyone like can give me a synopsis, or I don't know. I've seen interesting use cases of it so far.
It's the idea that you like don't, it's like a wrapper and you don't know if it's like a fungible token or it's like a ERC-20 or an ERC-721. Like you literally don't know, and it is one of them or it's both of them at the same time. I haven't seen, I haven't like owned one or interacted with
Yeah.
one ever, but it seems like contrived and pointless. If I'm
Okay.
understanding it, if I'm understanding it correctly.
Yeah, there's one called like I think 404 blocks that was connected to generative art. But it seems like the one that has had the most staying power is Pandora, which was the initial one. And essentially, I think it's like a new way to fractionalize NFTs. So you can essentially buy a portion of this collection of NFTs and then have a market and liquidity around that. But I think it's like an unofficial standard right now.
Yeah. Contrived, to use Cheyon's word.
Contrived and pointless. So
Okay, even better.
it's going direct. Well, I don't know. Fractionalizing NFTs, like people have been trying this for some time, and
Yeah.
like it makes a lot of sense in theory. And I think there've been like a bunch of different, like just like as a meta point, when like people think that a concept makes sense, but the problem is that like there isn't the right mechanism for it. Like people have tried 50 different ways to get liquidity on the shards and like find different ways to swap them, but like people just want to like fucking own the NFT and do things with it.
Yeah, like
That's
have
it.
any of those worked?
Not that I'm aware of. I think
Yeah.
people just want to. I've seen some success in like crowdfunded like group wallets to buy NFTs, where you still preserve the whole. I guess it means that like more people owning one whole is better than one person owning one like fraction of a whole thing. Is the revealed preference we've learned from the last few years. I don't know if there's a broader point there, but yeah.
Our question is like, how has like the fractionalized asset market beyond crypto worked out? Like for art, and I don't know. Like for how art, housing. I know that was kind of big real estate, right? Have those plays played out? You know, like I know that was a huge theme a while ago. Like what's the art one? Masterworks.
Yeah,
Masterwork.
Yeah, and like the people like fractionalize like watches and stuff and whatnot. Like I never got excited about those opportunities, even like outside of crypto, because I'm like, it doesn't. I guess it makes sense from like an investment perspective, but I don't know. I guess that'd be a good thing to look into.
Yeah, I mean the ways of like fractionalizing those through like non-crypto means, like with SPVs and whatnot,
Yeah.
has been pretty complex and cumbersome and expensive legally. I don't know. I've been a little skeptical of some of those asset classes. I think like they tend to fall a little in the ZERP world, right? And like you're putting a lot of like credence in like the past performance of some of these asset classes, right? Like just because they went up in the past doesn't mean they always will. But I don't know. I think some of the like crypto ways of fractionalizing assets are more interesting than the non-crypto ones, but I don't know. Time will tell.
It felt like a lot of those attempts were just like trying to bring new people into an asset class, like in the same way that something like Republic tried to do that with venture. Like Masterworks is theoretically that to like high-end art markets, which are reserved for like DE Shaw trading them or whatever. But it feels like with crypto, like the money is like obviously a big part of it, but like it's already like permissionless theoretically. Like as long as you have stables, you can like participate in this stuff. Like there's clearly more to it than just the money. You also get to make it a picture. So like that.
Oh, what about like fractionalizing like sports teams? I feel like like
Oh
we've seen a lot of fan engagement, but more recently I've seen a lot more like fan ownership type models. Outside, I mean, in the US, it's very difficult for this to work, right? But I think outside of the US with like European football clubs or whatnot, that could be super interesting of a model. That's one that I think makes a lot of sense, especially for like maybe not like the tier one sports teams, but like, others that need additional funding, kind of like to your point about crowdfunding, that need that extra, revenue sponsorship opportunity. Could be interesting.
Yeah, I remember Kraus House was trying to
Yeah.
buy a team a while ago. I
Linked
don't think
out, Kraus House, karate. But like I think there's a lot more now that are like for just like the platform ties model. That could be interesting.
yeah. There's that TV show. I think it's called Wrexham FC. It's from the guys who made Always Sunny. Like they bought like it's him and Ryan Reynolds, I believe, who is
Yeah.
like
Oh yes,
credible
exactly.
media operator
Yeah.
for a variety of different reasons. Like they bought a sports team, like some obscure like
Yeah.
sports like
And they
football
made
team,
it
and yeah, they
exactly.
productized it into a TV show, and we should all do that. Maybe that should be our next episode.
Shine, do you want to go into what you were saying before about messengers and distribution, ton, kind of what you're seeing there and find interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it kind of ties back to the sort of frames arc as well, which is I think what we're seeing now, like more broadly in terms of design patterns in consumer crypto, the most promising uh, the most promising pattern is basically reducing the friction towards doing something on chain. And Amanda, you wrote a very good piece about sort of how that stack is evolving with embedded wallets and permission and progressive web apps and things of that nature. But basically, lowering the barrier to entry for a specific action allows you to like build a lot more state based on whatever someone is doing. And frames are a very good example of that, meaning that if I see something on my feed, I'm much more likely to interact with it. Instead, like there's just generally less cognitive overhead in terms of like seeing an NFT collection, finding out where it is, figuring out how to swap. It's much easier if I just see it as a frame in my feed and can click on it and mint it, or bet on a prediction market or pool capital for something. And so this is like a phenomena, like a general pattern that we internally dub, and it's Kyle from our side who gave it this term. We call it UI layer composability, which is like people talk about composability of assets and dollars and value on chain a lot, but the reality is most people don't really need you can only like lever up your CRV position so many times before it like stops being interesting. Like the real value of composability is not necessarily on chain, but between on chain state and off chain state, and like putting more pieces of like just getting more state on chain by allowing people to engage with it off chain. And so the other interesting instantiation of this is in like other platforms, specifically messengers. Um, Telegram bots have been around for a while, and I'm sure everyone here has spent some time with them and been familiar with them. But basically, embedding messengers as a venue to do an action, right? Like 3 years ago, you wouldn't have thought that you could like type something into a chat and you would buy, some like obscene amount of like some shit coin that was minted 12 hours ago. But you can do that now, and you can do that, and there's 20 people who will let you do that, right? Which means that this behavior, is it's emergent, and I think Telegram is a real blessing for that, because they have a really open standard for people to like do interesting things with, and a lot of it is like Ton geared, which is their own blockchain. But I think there's a really rich design space there for people crowdfunding things, or people embedding prediction marketplaces into chats. Like the four of us have a Telegram chat, we should be betting on things in there, maybe. So that it just means that like you will do actions in new venues in a bunch of different places, and that's pretty exciting to me.
Yeah. Everyone remember the disclaimers from the beginning that Amanda said. That relates to what Shayon just said. Directly correlated to this piece. No, I agree. I think frames is also a good example of that. Like, I think one thing I was thinking a lot about is a lot of how a lot of crypto apps in the future, they'll either have like some form of bot, whether that be on Telegram or on Farcaster or Frames or Channel, as like a distribution or another kind of, what do you call it, UI layer composability. And then they'll have a separate native application. And that's kind of like the beautiful part of crypto, right? Is like it can exist in different places and people can interact with it in different channels, whether that be Farcaster or Telegram. And then they'll still have like a native application where it exists solely in their own interface. I think Bounty Caster is a good example of that. Photocaster is also another one that I just downloaded and used. But basically, you kind of cast to the Photocaster app like Instagram, but it also populates into a separate channel in the Workcast, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think we've also been seeing like startups that have been around for years starting to use Farcaster for distribution as well. So like Gallery, allowing you to show your gallery collections within Farcaster. And so I feel like it almost makes it a much more interactive experience than, let's say, you're sharing an announcement on Twitter, because you're able to participate from within the native application.
Yeah. Also, the people want you to speak, Mark. They are like, I have yet to hear Mark say something.
Hi, guys. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's like the first It's like the crypto native version of Twitter, right? It's like the environment for like all these crypto brands to start actually like posting and communicating from like the crypto native um, distribution platform. So I agree.
Cool. So, question for you, Mark. I know you mentioned like the vibes are back. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of different kind of communities organizing around meme coins, as well as NFT communities that are kind of closely tied to products and almost like evangelizing the product or potentially building community and getting rewarded for that. Kind of what are you seeing around the culture and vibes and these different kind of NFT and coin communities?
Yeah, probably a lot of the activity is tied to price action, right? Which is no surprise. Um, when prices go up, more people get involved. I've been like kind of interested in how like diverse NFT breakdowns have been by chain lately. Like it's like I was surprised to see how large of like a market share Bitcoin still has. I think it was like roughly tied with Solana, um, and Ethereum still being the largest one. So I was like kind of surprised to see just how diverse like the breakdown is by chain. I think we're probably seeing the rise of new sort of like NFT projects in this wave, right? Like Mad Lads feels like an interesting example. And then on the meme coin side, like I don't know, those waves go so quickly, right? Like those are like 5-6 hour waves, and so like if you're, I don't know, it's kind of hard to like pick up a pattern on that. I think like Anita was a crazy
Anita win.
spectacle. Um, like in hindsight, just like a perfect meme. Like with Hat was like an interesting one as well. So I don't know. It just feels like there's a lot of fuel in that space right now. But yeah,
What do you guys think of the DGen token?
it's cool.
I like it. I honestly, it's one of the few where I love that you can like tip people in Warps and DGen now and Warpcast. I wonder what they do with like season, like the next few seasons of the airdrop. Like right now, it's based on your engagement, I think, on Warpcast. But I feel like they're going to change it up after this season.
Yeah, I think they gave an announcement around like they would remove people that are causing spam, but I am seeing a lot of like spam of just people giving and receiving DGen, obviously as a farming of the airdrop. But I think what's interesting about DGen for me is that it's sort of like and I see this also with other projects, but where there's not a token for the project, that token kind of serves as the proxy. And so like you can associate maybe the success of Farcaster with DGen for the time being, similar to how you would do maybe Mad Lads and their exchange. And so I think that like that's pretty interesting, and I think creates more staying power around the meme.
Is there a way to see like, or like, are there any stats on DGen, like just number of people that have used it, or like any adoption metrics? Because like obviously anecdotally it's blowing up, but I'm just curious like how much distribution it has.
Currently, it's like a lot of the season 2 airdrop stuff is like off chain, I think. You can kind of track that on dgen.tips, I believe. But I think the season 1 airdrop, you can see that like on, I think there's like a Dune dashboard on it. Let me send it to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it proves that the crypto is about permissionless capital formation, and people just want, when there isn't something to express a view on something, they will find a way to express a view on something in the open market, which is like, there was no way to go long Farcaster per se for anyone. But they made it. They did something that like was something close to it, and people bit. So yeah, these are fun attention markets, and this is going to continue.
What are some other exciting like new consumer crypto behaviors that you guys are like seeing people do, whether it be on like within the Telegram ecosystem or Farcaster or anything else?
I mean, I want to talk about crypto the game for a minute.
Oh
If
yes. Oh my God. Let's please unpack that
I
because
don't think we did that,
oh
but
my
like
God,
I'm
we
sure
need to talk about that.
played,
I'm still
but
traumatized from
I
how
mean,
I got out
I'll be
there.
very, I'll be the first to admit that I was voted out on the first night for not being good enough at Pac-Man. Um,
That was the
and
What'd
second,
you do? What
and
happened?
I also
Oh
wasn't
my God.
good.
I was like, I mean, but I will say just like how quickly like these Twitter groups formed. I'm sure you guys like got added to
Yeah.
these
Were
groups
you
as
in the
well.
cabal?
And like just like just frankly the amount of engagement in terms of like here's how you win Pac-Man. Like watch this watch this video and like use it, otherwise we'll get eliminated. And it was like there were people who were like, please forgive me, like I have to pick up my son from school, so I can't like don't vote me. It got so intense on day one that I was actually kind of happy that I got kicked out. Maybe this is just cope, I don't know. But it was really like it was really interesting to see
Yeah.
how quickly like culture and community form when you put 50 ETH in a prize pool for one person to win.
Yeah.
Like
I love that.
anyway, yeah, I'm curious
For
what you guys thought
me,
about
I actually played the Pac-Man game fair and square, but I was labeled. I think my computer was like laggy because I have a shitty ass PC. And I was labeled a cheater, and somehow like that screenshot of me cheat, and I didn't cheat. I swear to God, I played the game fair and square for like like an hour and a half on that Friday, and I got a pretty good score. But like if I cheat, I would have gotten a perfect score, and I didn't. So, so I managed to stay till like the last I don't know, like day 4, day 5. And then our tribe, after the merge, our tribe basically was like not going to vote anyone off. And then the last like 10 seconds, I got sniped. It was horrible. Crypto the game is how do you think that scales, that model, which I love, like an ephemeral seasonal game? How do you think that scales beyond our little corner of the internet, right? Like, I guess HQ trivia is cool. It's a good, right? But that was like, I don't know. How do you guys think about that? Do you think non chronically online people will come together and hang out on Discord and Telegram over the course of 10 days to do something like this? Or do you think it's like a different iteration?
Yeah, I mean, there's a
it.
lot of chronically online people,
True.
so like it's a big TAM. Um, but like so you scale to non-crypto users, there's still like a multitude of people that are just online, right? I don't know though. Like these things are always hard. It's always hard to like maintain curation with them. Like, and these don't always need to get massive, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's harder for probably the core team to continue to launch like very complicated mini game 10-day series. So it feels like it needs to either be more scalable or distributed, I would say.
I think it's also just like there are like behavioral differences. Like there's a real culture of like what's called real money gaming in India, where it's kind of like fantasy sports. Well, not like really not really fantasy sports, but like people will like play like a game of 8 ball pool with a friend and like wager money on it, and then there'll be like collective prize pools and like tournaments that have very similar mechanics around that. Um, and they're all mobile first, and that culture really exists in India and certain parts of Southeast Asia, I think. Um, it just somehow doesn't exist in the US, and like I can see someone building like a mass market version of this and using crypto rails for like what it's good for, payouts and
Yeah.
like payments and trading, like the basics around that. Um, but yeah, I mean, the question is like, how niche do you want to be and how mass market do you want to be? Like, do you want to be mullet, like Web 2 in the front, Web 3 in the back, or do you want to like build for crypto natives?
What's next? Ooh, FriendTech. Are people doing FriendTech or still using FriendTech? Thoughts on what's coming on V2?
I don't know what's coming, but I'm a huge fan of Racer. I think he's great. I don't know what he's gonna do or they are gonna do, but I'm excited. Excited to see what's next.
What's up with FriendTech? I'll be honest, I have no idea.
I
I
mean,
think that answers the
Yeah,
question. Like,
community is
I don't
pretty much
know.
dropped off, like at least in their current iteration of chat rooms that are gated. So like I think they're going to be launching something new. They've alluded to.
yeah. Well, we've seen that movie like 20 times before with social tokens. Like they always have that sort of wake up and then sort of don't really last. Um, not on
Have people
Unlonely though.
have people used their FriendTech keys elsewhere though? Like I think I own all of your keys, right? It'd be cool if I saw people kind of build things based on that. That'd be interesting.
Like more composable.
Yeah, because like technically I still have your key, Amanda, right? Like, so
Yeah.
I wonder if you could like spin up, I don't know, additional experiences, like gated content elsewhere with that. That's what I'm excited about. Like people being able to kind of do that more stuff like that.
We can end with like something you're watching in 2024.
Like on TV or in crypto?
In crypto. But if you want it alternatively
Could be
something you're
both.
watching on TV.
Oh, that's
Love on
fun.
Leverage. That's what I'm watching.
Love on leverage.
um yeah, who
Okay,
wants
well, I guess I can get off and talk about DeSci. No, but I guess like as the the concept of just like special interest communities and using crypto as a way to coordinate different types of capital, like stuff like HairDAO or VitaDAO. Um, Crypto is special because you can aggregate attention and money from everywhere in the world and coordinate in an interesting way. And I think the canonical early example of that was something like Constitution DAO, which obviously went on and took on a life of its own. But like that same principle around capital formation could be applied to 50 other things. I mean, like I guess we talked about buying a sports team, but theoretically solving, underfunded, diseases or things like new facets of research or drug discovery. So I just want to like see crypto get used to solve problems that are like not given the right sort of profile in the world. Um, and I think crypto uniquely enables that sort of access and capital formation. So I want to see more stuff like that.
I can go next. There's two things I'm kind of excited about, and more like behaviors wise. First is I think we're beginning to kind of see kind of on chain like remixing, um, and kind of how attribution works with that. I'm excited to kind of see different types of that for like songs, media, games, commerce. Um, so like either platforms and brands kind of or artists kind of doing that. The second thing I'm excited about is kind of new social experiences, whether that be like betting or gamified experiences that are based around kind of what you've collected or kind of on chain data or even bringing your off chain data on chain by testing it. I think I'm pretty excited about that space and kind of people to kind of build around all that. Because right now, like we're all kind of minting and collecting things on a daily basis, but there hasn't really been that many experiences built around kind of what's in our wallet. So it would be cool to see more discoverability, more like dating apps, more emerging use cases and social experiences around kind of what we've collected.
Yeah, I think the premise of like kind of merging like Web 2 and 3 data sources with one another is like pretty interesting and has been to date like underfunded or underappreciated. It feels like a good time for that to start like coming to fruition. And I think the whole sort of theme of like UIs and crypto sucking, right? Like it's just every like incremental product is getting better on that end. And I think like that's a trend to just continue to look for in the consumer world. So I totally agree with that.
Yeah. To add one more, and then we can close out. I've been watching a lot of like kind of the AI announcements recently, obviously, like Sora, and I think that like where this intersects with consumer crypto experiences is going to be an area to watch this year. So like gaming agents, generative physical products, AI companions, continuing to see like a lot more around that.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Yeah,
Great.
thank you both for having us. This was
Thanks for
super fun.
having us.
Bye, guys.
Thanks. Bye.